Our speaker this afternoon is Mr. Uyapata, and permit me to do a little background citation on him. He is the country senior partner of PwC Nigeria and regional senior partner for the West Africa market area. He is also PwC African oil and gas leader. He has particular interest in the energy and utility industry, and for over 15 years led various engagements in serving large multinationals, including ExxonMobil, Chevron, and ICAN-ngr, and of integrated and emerging regional oil and gas companies, such as Orlando and Sahara Group. He has served in numerous leading positions with Nigerian firms, including being head of energy, utilities, and mining services for Nigeria, and is a member of the global oil and gas leading team. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Mr. Uyapata, our lead speaker, to the podium.
Thank you, my good friend, chairman of this session. All protocols duly observed. Today is symbolic. Exactly this day, 34 years ago, I walked into Coopers and Librans, Kaduna, as a young, enthusiastic trainee accountant. In 34 years, a lot has happened in the profession. I've had 34 years of eventful career, but in almost every decade now, even shorter, we've had situations where there's been a lot of transformation and changes. And I dare say, if I and most professionals have not changed with the times, then we will not have been as successful as we are today. It's against this background, I want to present some views, my views. I'll try and be as elaborate as possible, but hopefully, or in particular, I'll be talking from my experience as the regional senior partner of PwC in the West Market area. My discussion will be along those trends. The world is clearly changing, we've seen that. Look at some of those factors that are shaping the future of accounting and the audit profession, and how do I see the accounting firms of the future. And lastly, my thoughts, and I'm sure my fellow panelists will add a couple of things on how we should proceed as we go forward. A few years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, a lot of people were coming with discussions on mega trends, how technology is going to be disruptive, urban migration, scarcity, and climate change and impact scarcity. And it was like, I'm talking about 5 years ago, I was saying, okay, what's this all about? Maybe in my lifetime we will not see all of this. But in a very short space of time, we've seen the impact of technology, how technology has affected us and our businesses. As I said earlier, in 1984, I was very well interested in being an accountant, and one of the things that inspired me those days, that made me feel very proud, was when the office, Coopers and Librans then in Kaduna, after 6 months, finally said I deserve to have a pilot case. A pilot case where I could put my audit files. So I'm going for one client's engagement. I put like about 3 pilot cases there with my tie. And to add to impetus and to make me even feel prouder, I have to carry the other pilot case of the supervisor. So I go with 2 bags. And I feel very proud. And I do all the audits, those files, and I feel, but now, immediately I finish, I can review audit files of 3 major multinationals from my laptop. or my iPad. That has happened in very rapid time. So technology is clearly one of those things, but there are quite a number. Some of those things we're looking at, evolving nature of financial reporting. These are the things, factors impacting accounting practice today. More areas of judgment. We are talking a lot about ethical standards and our behavior, the need for public trust. We are talking about talents. Where do we get talents? As I said, those days I used to be very proud to say, okay, yes, I now deserve to get 2 suits, change my tie and go every day. But the people we are getting in these days in our firm don't want to put on tie. In fact, we have to moderate to reach a situation where it's only on Fridays to say, okay, at least you wear your jeans. Other days, smart casual. So those are the people today, that's where you get the talent. They're not, I mean, anytime I tell them I've been there for 34 years, I think some of them look at me and say, oh, boring. But the 2 key things you see on that slide driving that I want to focus my discussion on today is technology and innovation and the regulatory environment. These are clearly increasingly challenging times for us, but these changes, although they present challenges, but certainly they create lots more opportunity. So for technology, there's been a lot of transformation in recent times. We're talking about mobile, cloud, big data, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotic process assurance. These are things, they are already here. In a recent survey conducted by PwC in the US, 67% of these finance people said they are investing in the next year or so in robotic process assurance. Robotic process automation, sorry. 67%. Just in case you think that that is meant for the US alone, most banks in Nigeria are already undertaking that. PwC and some of the other firms are involved in robotic process automation for most clients. That has its challenges. It's a no-brainer, first and foremost, those involved in those processes, the 20 or so people who will be involved in, say, maybe the P2P pattern, will lose their jobs, clearly, because banks want to be more efficient. But at the end of the day, people who survive have to retool. Artificial intelligence, for example, will deliver greater insights and better judgment. People have said that. People are investing in that. A 2015 survey, which was built on research at the Oxford University, as it says on that slide, indicated that there's a 94% probability of some accounting and auditing jobs becoming automated in the next 20 years. That was in 2015. I'm sure if they've done a revision, they will bring that down to the next 5 years. As I said, RPA is in vogue now. Already, more accounting firms are applying automation tools, machine learning, and data analytics to deliver enhanced value. What you see on that slide is a drone. Part of my excitement, again, 34 years ago, was when we had to go for those stock counts. I come in very early, we have to travel. I was in Kaduna then, maybe we have to go to Jos. And I assure you, the excitement didn't have to do with the extra allowance I have to get for traveling. It was just the dedication of being an enthusiastic new accountant. But drones now do stock counts. It's against that background. Let me give you some further examples. Use of drones in inventory. Those are some of the things that we're seeing. In PwC, as I said, we use Aura and Halo audit systems, where what has generally limited my two permanent and permanent audit files and current audit files. KPMG and IBM working cognitive computing technology, they are collaborating. EY has a blockchain analyzer. AI assistance is being used in tax for tax analysis. PwC and H2I GL, we have GL, General Ledger Artificial Intelligence project. In the next year or so, we'll come up with an artificial intelligence project. Deloitte and McLaren are looking at data technology solutions, and just because you think, okay, it's the big four, BDO, Advantage has audit too. So everybody recognizes this, and it's already here. In fact, technology is here to stay. So these obvious challenges, how do we react? So AI, how we find source for these skills. Let me, 3 days ago, just by accident, I'm sure my predecessor Kenny Koku and I will share exchange information, and just send me one-pager WhatsApp, one-pager document, and that document shows a recent World Economic Forum report on the future of workplace, where it says there were some emerging jobs and some declining jobs. The emerging jobs, it says by 2022, there's going to be about 133 million jobs for people with skills such as data analytics, technology-related things. The top 10 of that relates to technology. And 75 million declining jobs will go out, and number one on that list was clerical and payroll officers, people who are keeping different activities. But what is more important in that is that accountants and auditors are number 7 on that list. Technology is leading these changes. One other important thing, cost. Cost of deploying technology is capital intensive. Do we have the war chest? The session before now was very instructive. We're talking about SMPs. We have already challenges in terms of investments and how we do to just play catch up. But just imagine if we have to do these additional investments. So how do we respond? Do we have the war chest? How do we respond? Are we protected if digitalization comes? These are key questions. The challenges notwithstanding, in my view, the accounting profession ought to actively embrace the opportunities it presents. Companies or firms that adopt bold strategies in the face of industry digitization improve their odds of coming out winners. There's also the opportunity to acquire the capacity to offer these services through acquisition of niche players, and opportunities to work together to be innovative. So what's stopping an SNP in audit going out to look for a technology-related SNP and create your niche area? Those are the kind of out-of-the-box thinking we should have. This also offers increased efficiency, better quality of service, and increased profitability for the firms. Let me also look briefly at some of the other major issues affecting us as a profession. That's regulation. It's a flawed topic, so I'll do it very fast. Bottom line is that regulation is affecting us in 3 ways. There's the mandatory firm rotation, mandatory joint audits, auditor independence, and audit-only firms. So just imagine, Bode was saying earlier that to add value to our clients who are SMEs, we needed to a broad range of services. So there's regulation now saying we should just be auditors. So all those expertise we had of saying broad-minded professionals will come to naught if that regulation goes through. But the school of thought is that at the end of the day, you need broad range of service, broad range of experts to be able to continue delivering service to your clients. Globally, the consequences of these regulatory changes or impacts, listed companies and other public interest entities are starting to get, so we've gone through this, it's no more an issue. There must be auditor rotation, it's between 5 and 10 years, it's already here, banks, insurance, and hopefully the new code will come into effect soon. But the impact is not just on audit exercises, but in all of this, I think what people are still talking about is auditor rotation. And the controversial issue here of joint audits, where you say global or alien firms, as some want to refer to the Big 4 or Big 8, and indigenous firms. At the end of the day, will joint audits really improve audit quality? It's been tested that it doesn't necessarily do that. And where do you stop? Are 2 auditors generally better than 1? Where do you stop? Maybe you will get 3 auditors. 3 auditors will be better than 2, 4 will be better than 3, and the rest of it. So those are questions, but again, the overall impact is a threat not to the Big 4 or Big 8, it's a threat to the audit profession, and we must respond jointly and together. Those are some of the implications. I think my time will soon be up, so I don't want to overflood those issues. If implications of some of the regulatory changes, one-only audits, as I mentioned earlier, is going to reduce revenues. Then continued dominance of the Big 4, that's a question. In the UK, we are having discussions, the regulatory authorities are very strong there, but what has been decided is the regulators should come up with defense on how to address the issue of perceived dominance. Ultimately, it's going to be in the best interest of the profession. Some of the opportunities for regulatory changes, as I said, in all of these challenges, there are opportunities. There will be opportunities for more people to come on board. If we think out of the box, just alone, today, sitting in the morning, based on our accountability framework, there's huge opportunities for us as a profession to make states and MDAs more accountable. The session preceding this year talked about excellent opportunities in the agri value chain and companies wanting to work with them. As we continue to play a prominent role in governance, there are other issues around where we should be throwing our resources as a body, as it relates to the regulatory space, that is. So I still think in all these challenges, there are opportunities. It's for us to be at the forefront, take the lead, and shape our own destiny. But in all of these, and I think Bobby alluded to it, and it was good it was coming from him, some of his lessons. It wasn't coming from a Big 4 firm, so you say, oh yes, you have it. Opportunity for smaller firms to merge and collaborate to form bigger entities that allows them become more competitive. We need to see more of that happening, because at the end of the day, ultimately it's going to be better for the profession. I've been an auditor for 34 years, but I've not audited a bank in the last 20 years. At least since 1998, I specialized in only oil and gas, because that's the only way I could create expertise to be able to audit people who work in oil and gas industry on a day-to-day basis. So if I sit back and say, oh, a one-man practitioner, I want to do everything, it doesn't work. If you don't want to do the formal measure, interact with the other people who are specialists in other areas. So the future of accounting firms will be that which is technology driven, must have a more flexible work culture to attract and keep young tech savvy employees. I said that earlier. The firm of the future will be structured more like a diamond that sub-administrators, trainers, error checkers, specialists, and general business advisors are more prominent. We speak of the Big Four today. In future, there will be other bigger firms forming mergers and acquisitions to close the gap between the larger and smaller firms. Future firms may either offer a wide variety of services or may become more specialized. So who are the kind of people we are looking for? It's not the first class accounting person or someone who says he wants to do 3 years of ICAN or ACC or what is that. We are looking for people who are tech savvy thinkers, people who are tech geeks, strong communications, flexible thinkers, strategic thinkers, networkers. I'm not just imagining this. I did not prepare this because I want to say something nice. In the last 3 or 4 years, PwC has consistently invested in new professional accountants, people coming in. We get 50 to 60 people every year because we want to sustain that growth pattern. But guess what we are doing this year? And it's not a global firm. It's out of the Nigerian, fully 30-flag Nigerian partners' profits. My biggest investment this year in Nigeria is the fact that I'm going to set up an innovation center where I'm bringing 60 people not related to the accounting profession. That is my biggest cost. Yeah, you may say it's a threat to the accountants and not bringing accountants. But I need those people to be innovative for me to survive. And as I said, it's not a global handout. It's me and the Nigerian partners responding to the current trends and taking advantage of those specific opportunities. I think I hear that knock of the mic, which shows that for us to survive, incumbents, we need to decide on what business we want, consider how to change regulations and technical impacts, think of what you need for technology point of view. Everything is changing, even the issue of trust. You may find out that in future what you really have is technological company using audits as a tool. You may find out that audited statements, you don't need it at the end of the year, but you need real-time assurance that you need to give to clients. But these are challenging times, but really exciting times. Whether it's regulation, whether it's technology, what is most important is that ICAN, this body, is strong, and collectively we can make the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Put succinctly, technology, regulation, and standards are impacting our profession and our firm. The kind of skills we require are changing, the kind of environment we need are changing. On that note, I want to ask the first discussor, Mr. Michael Armstrong, STA. He's from the Institute of Chartered Accountants, England and Wales. He's the Regional Director for Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. He joined ICAN-ngr in July 2014 as the Regional Director for Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. And prior to joining, he spent 35 years in KPMG, you know, the big part here, you see? Delos, PwC, KPMG, EY, they're here. They must tell us the way forward. He joined KPMG in London in 1978 and qualified as an ICAN Chartered Accountant in 1982. Michael has more than 5 years of working experience in the Middle East. He was appointed as partner in 1988. He served as partner in charge of KPMG practice in Oman. Michael was a member of the management committee of KPMG in the Lower Gulf. He was appointed as the head of audit from 2005 until his retirement in 2013. It's good to have you so that we can see, of course, how do we learn from you? How do we leverage on this? What kind of insights and collaborations do we need to be doing within Nigeria and other spheres where accountancy is practiced? On that note, of course, for you, for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, delighted to be with you at this important event today. Perhaps we could leave that for now. I just wanted to show that 1-minute video at the end, if I may. But if you can just put the opening slide. I think that what I'd like to do, rather than going through a detailed presentation that I brought with me, I prepared that for 30 minutes. You'll be pleased to know I haven't got 30 minutes. And what I thought I would do is build on the discussion we've heard just now from Mr. Yuhi, which I thought was quite fascinating. Just a little way of background myself, as we heard from our chairman of the event this afternoon, that certainly I have spent most of my career with Big Four, but the last 5 years I've been with the ICAW, that's the Institute of Chartered Accountants, England and Wales. And what that has done for me has opened up my eyes to a life outside the Big Four, and that there is quality outside the Big Four as well. I'm hoping that's not a heretical point of view, that I'm on the stage, I'm surrounded by Ernst & Young, PwC, and of course Deloitte's as well. But I think this is something for us all to appreciate, because part of the future of our profession, or a significant part of the future of our profession, is what we're all going to do. As we know, that most economies, the GDPs are significantly influenced by the activities of the SMEs. Often the SMEs are audited and advised and helped and given value advice from the smaller accounting firms, which offer some very able assistance in that area. By my background, I mentioned I had 35 years with KPMG. Yes, I have hair, like some of the members don't have so much of, but mine is white. So I think there's a fair amount of stress going on with the Big Four these days. It continues. But what I did want to, one story, we heard from you just now about his initial introduction to the profession was carrying, I think, 2 pilot cases going on. Well, I had the grand opportunity to escort the comptrometrist. Now, I don't know if anyone in the room will remember what a comptrometrist is. This was before computers. We used to have our audit files added up. They were comped together by a specialist person, and she operated a piece of equipment which was too heavy for her to carry, so therefore she was assigned a junior auditor to go with her to bring the file. The good part about that was that we were allowed to take taxis in those days, which was unusual for the junior members of the team. Anyway, we have changed, and I think that was the theme that you mentioned. 2 pilot cases, now is 1 laptop and auditing and reviewing audits of international group companies. So a great change, but with, as to paraphrase and borrow your phrase, great change was also very much great opportunities. Now, what I want to do with my time just now is to guide the thought process from our current status, what is impacting us, looking at the factors, and then a conclusion for the firms, the accounting firms of the future. I think the current status is, if I talk more globally or particularly in the UK, the accounting profession is under huge scrutiny in the media, and a lot of scandals that are being operated almost and announced almost on a daily basis. Certainly the impact that this is having on the profession is very much the public is beginning to lose trust, and one of the key themes that we are seeing and the need to do now is to build that public trust going forward. And I think that will significantly underpin all that we have to do to maintain and have a sustainable profession for the future. In fact, my CEO was on the record recently in saying we have a great opportunity. This was in response to the Carillion failure that we had in the UK. So we now have a great opportunity because we're fortunate that we do have the advantages of technology to help us. But certainly if we don't act now, if we're not proactive, he wondered whether we'll have a profession in 20 years' time. Now that was quite a shock to a number of people in the room, but certainly it illustrates what he describes as the watershed moment for all of us. What is the good part of this? Well, it is the benefits of technology. We must embrace technology. We must look at the ramifications for us. You touched on the advantages of technology coming, but one thing I put out there for you to think about is the cost of the investment. And perhaps Ernst & Young will forgive me if I get this wrong, but I think Ernst & Young have recently announced over the next 2 years they're planning to spend either $1 billion or $2 billion in technology. This is a huge amount of money. And my question, I don't have an answer, but to pose to you is, what are the smaller firms going to do? They can't invest such large amounts of money. Perhaps there's a slightly rhetorical question, because again, you mentioned in the UK, there's a lot of pressure at the moment for the breakup of the big four firms to reduce the monopoly. And there have been issues being referred to the Competition and Markets Authority. Now what is interesting there is that the larger firms, I think 9 of them altogether, got together to put some proposals together for the Capital Markets Authority, sorry, not the Competition and Markets Authority. And I think there were 4 main findings. One was very much a question of perhaps there can be a limit to the number of FTSE 100, FTSE 350 companies that one firm can do, so there's a limit to that. The second part was to talk about joint and shared audits, which again you referred to. The third was very interesting, and something I want, was the sharing of the investment in technology. And what I, again excited by what Yuri has just said, and also the managing partner of KPMG said yesterday, he was investing across Nigeria in significant resources, taking on people from firms to share the technology, taking on people that are from firms that are not part of international organizations, so to support those initiatives. And again, we just heard of Yuri's Innovation Center. I think this is the collaboration that we're all looking for and all need as part of the development and sustainability of our very exciting profession. Now, there are 4 particular aspects that I feel that each firm needs to look at. One is and we need to rethink about this. One is the skill set of our people. I'm not going to go into details here, but certainly not only the skill set, but what education process. Is ICAN reviewing its syllabus on an annual basis? Is it taking account of the technology required? We heard the phrase that I will use, you used as well. Our trainees, our students, our members are needing to be tech savvy as we go forward. So the skill set's important. The second area is the services. What services are we going to have to offer? And certainly you touched on that, to make sure we're using technology to add value. Yes, his diamond-shaped scenario of how the firm would be structured indicated that there'll be less people at the more compliance end of the firm, but then certainly many more people involved in looking at the big data, analysing that, what skill sets do they need. So certainly the key element of the skill sets is there. The investment in technology is obvious. The culture of the firm is critical. Yes, we have to be agile. Yes, we have to be responsive, not responsive, proactive even. That must maintain. We have to be good communicators. But certainly we need to make sure that we have the right culture to ensure the ethical standards to earn the trust that we so much need. When we've talked about the people, the services, the culture, then we need to look fourthly at the operating model we put in place in our firms to make sure we're relevant. Perhaps the generation today doesn't want to spend 10 years, 15 years coming in a suit every day, wanting to become a partner. They don't see the attraction of being a partner so much anymore. They're quick to change their jobs. They have a 2-year horizon. Yes, I was 35 years at KPMG. I think the people look at me as I'm absolutely crazy. How could you possibly stay with one organization? Obviously, the job I did changed over that period and was very exciting. Otherwise, I wouldn't have stayed. I think so, rethinking those 4 areas, investing in technology, I think, linked to this last one, listening to the younger generation. I think I'm particularly bad at that. My children tell me I don't listen to them enough, but I think I'm beginning to learn a bit more now, and certainly some really good innovative ideas are coming out of the younger generation. And I suspect that's exactly why UWI is forming his innovation centre. And it's great to hear not just talking about it, but using the money of the local firm and practice to invest in that. There isn't, people often think there's things like global handouts. Well, they're not always there, so I respect and encourage that aspect going forward. I think, lastly, I wanted to summarize by mentioning, and it's linking to Yui's point on taking the lead and shaping our own destiny, taking that responsibility. But certainly underpinning that is collaboration. And I want to give you 2 examples of collaboration that I'm quite excited by just in the course of this year. Earlier on, my president met with your president and signed an MOU of mutual cooperation and so forth. But it wasn't just paperwork. How that is translated, I'm pleased to say, is that we've already put in place what they call a pathways approach to membership. So ICAN members with more than 5 years experience can become our members of the Institute Chartered Accountant England and Wales by a non-examination route, which allows that to take place. So I'm delighted to make sure that that is there. And I know there's a lot of technical preparation going on, and I'm delighted by that going forward. And the last thing I would say on collaboration, I'm not sure it's going to work. I had a 1-minute video, but this was put together by Chartered Accountants Worldwide. Chartered Accountants Worldwide, for those that don't know, is a body of 12 member institutes, which, you can see there the ICAN logo as well as ICAW logo, working together and collaborating. Unfortunately, I think we missed part of the soundtrack. There was a voiceover, but certainly the theme was working together, collaborating to earn the trust that the public needs for the public interest and confidence going forward. So with that, I will leave you with my final comment, which is very much as I'm hugely excited to be here to talk about the accounting firms of the future. It's been a great career for myself. I think for the next generation it's going to be even more exciting. It will look different, but certainly we'll have a keen role to play. We should be and need to be of value to society. We can be if we plan it right. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Michael. And let me just reiterate some key things he said, which I don't want us to forget. That in the light of the impact of technology, regulation, we need to pay attention to the skill set, services, the culture of our organization, and rethink our opportunity model. And I like the last one we talk about the need for collaboration. He said, look, if the big firms can afford to spend as much money as they're spending on technology, who takes care of the interests of the smaller firm? That's the challenge to ICAN and all of us to see, how can we work together? And I like what he said about the big nine in the UK, the fact that They have dedicated that they're going to collaborate and spend part of their money in building what is required. Because together we need to build this profession. It's about trust from all of us. On that note, I want to call on Fatai Folari SCA, the managing partner of Deloitte. Over to you, Fatai, for 10 minutes. Please. Thank you.
It's a pleasure being here and privilege as well. Having senior members of the profession in the room and having the privilege to speak in front of you. Thank you very much. Since I have 10 minutes, although I have a presentation, but I will try and rush it. Now, accounting future. Accounting firm of the future and the challenges and opportunities. Definitely there are opportunities for us. In looking at this, I try and rush it. Especially some of those things that we said, I don't want to go back to that. But basically, I want to rush into some of those essential factors that we need to look at. And what's our history? Particularly in Nigeria, when you look at the history of accounting firm, that word has been with us for years, and it will remain with us. But then, let's move forward. How has ICAN been useful to us? All of us will not be in this room if we don't have ICAN. And the certification we have today to practice an accounting firm is an offshoot of ICAN, which we are quite proud of. Starting with about 250 people back then, to about 40,000 people, we should give credit to ICAN. The profession keeps increasing, and we keep seeing the benefits of it. But of importance today is to give recognition to him, to Doyen, for what he has done for bringing us here. We will not be talking about this topic today. 99 today, we will soon be celebrating the centenary celebration, which we wish to see him go through that. Moving forward, these are some of the essential factors that we need to look out for when we talk about accounting. Gentlemen and ladies, in the annal of accounting, there are issues we need to really worry about. When accounting starts to develop, we start having the issue of machines, and back then people were looking at calculators, computers, how do we do this kind of reference to it, carrying also equipment back then. Then we have mobile devices today dealing with us. Standard organization has taken significant role in the annal of accounting profession. And we see how they set standard in reporting and how we should conduct ourselves as an accounting firm of the future. An accounting firm of today and both of the future. Moving on in that generation is also what we have. What have we seen? As we have reporting requirements, we're beginning to face with some of these issues. Uncertainty, fraudulent issues, and things that could challenge us. And as Michelle said, we're in the press, not for good reasons sometimes, but for the bad reasons. And what are we doing about that? As an accountant of the future, as firm of the future, we need to be thinking about this. Coming to that is things that affected our business. As an accountant of the future, Internet of Things. That's the reality with us. Systems, everything is now being done through the internet system, and we're having a lot of challenges as we move on. Industrial revolution is with us. Clients are demanding from us. Where are we? And what are we doing? What have we achieved? In the course of moving, we also face this reality of a trend that has impacted our business. The industrial revolution, as I mentioned, we start to have this kind of attitude with us, this kind of reality with us. Cryptocurrency. Money is no longer being carried around the way we used to have it. The technology is taking off. Artificial intelligence is with us today. We mentioned it. It's a reality. Artificial intelligence is being used now by banks in Nigeria to do what we do as an accounting firm, reconciliation. You have all these artificial intelligence activities being able to help banks to do those reconciliations that would take us 2-3 weeks. Within 15 minutes, it's done. People are building robotics. Laws are not also putting us on the challenge. There's an expectation gap. Any issue we have today, the auditors is going to go for it. What are we doing? Because people want to see that when you do the audit, they want you to make sure that you do the audit in such a way that you don't have failures. And if there's any failure, people are looking at us. The expectation is even higher than what the job we took off from clients. There are complex accounting institutions, but the ability for us to bridge the gap is very critical for us. As professionals of tomorrow, what do we need to do? How do we need to address this issue? How do we need to respond to the realities of our environment? Colleagues in the room, it's very factual that if we don't change, we become obsolete. If you don't look at transformation, it becomes an issue. But transformation comes with a huge cost. Much as we are aware of the fact that transformation comes with huge costs, are we aware of the inherent benefits and opportunities? How do we evolve? And what kind of transformation should we put in place? These are some of the questions that we should be asking ourselves in terms of how we respond to these realities. And these are some of the introspection. If we don't do it and want to look into the future, we're not likely to be there. Now, for us to be there, we need to think of where are we today? How do we transform? And if we don't think about the current methodology to which we have, we cannot think about a shift in the way we run our profession, in the way we run the firm of tomorrow. And the shift is a matter of necessity because we cannot continue to do it in traditional way. Digitalization is a reality. It's with us, and we have to do it. And we have to cope and go in line with it. And this aspect of integration, as mentioned by we, is very critical. And as mentioned by Michelle, these are critical facts that we need to look at as accountants of the future and the firm of the future. Because if we don't think about shifting our position from where we are today, we will not be there anymore. Integrate. We've seen it in Nigeria where some local firms have integrated, and we see the benefit to which they have today. But even the Big Four today, they're also an offshoot of integrated environment, integrated firm, and we all know the history. So these are some of the facts that we, as members of ICAN, looking into the future, needs to think that we cannot run it being Fatai Folari and Co. You cannot even talk about the huge cost of incurring those costs as much as we have mentioned and Mitchell has mentioned in order to innovate, because there's a limit to what we can do. So I'm emphasizing much that members in the room needs to think about how do you start to integrate? How do you start to collaborate your business with others? These are some of the things that I feel is very important for us to look into the future. For colleagues, as we think about this, let's look at the challenges that we have. What are the challenges we need to worry about? Talent is a big issue. We have made reference to this. Much as I don't want to repeat so much, and I'm trying to rush this, talent matters is a critical fact that we need to start considering. As Michelle said, the younger generation are not willing to stay with us any longer. They are quite fast. They want to move. They are looking at the future, and they are challenging us. To them, the world is in their pocket. Because they have their laptop, they have their phones. Even now, when you look at what is going on now, the rate at which people even move between firms is increasing. Other countries all over the world are taking the skills, and they're looking at your people and taking them. So what do we do? That's a fact that we need to accept the fact that if we are thinking of accounting firm of the future, we need to be thinking that our talent is a critical part of the business. And we need to see how can we do, and what do we do to sustain them. These are some of the things that we think we can do in order to sustain our talent. Much as we sustain talent, we need to also start looking at us as an accounting firm of the future. What do we need to do? These are the aspects in which we need to. The era of compliance is gone. You need to start thinking and start introspecting that I need to be an advisor to my clients. And the moment you cannot occupy this role, then there's a challenge that you face. The future is there, but clients need us to do something deliberate. They need us to position ourselves as their trusted people. And the moment we cannot do this, then we lose them. They need to see us as partners in their business. At the moment the client sees you as no partner, then they find it difficult to pay your fees. Then they gradually start thinking you are a cost to the business. At the moment your clients start thinking you are a cost to the business, you don't get paid. And when you are not getting paid, there's a risk for tomorrow. So there's no hope. So as professionals in the room, we need to start introspecting. If your client is not calling you at the odd hours of the day, you are not yet ready for the accountant of tomorrow, or you are not ready for the firm of tomorrow. The digital era, as I mentioned, this is a reality. But I'll tell you, it comes with a lot of opportunities to us. So much as I want to rush this, I just need to let us know that if we're not very careful, the real issue we have is the big IT companies taking over the responsibility of an traditional accountant. These are the realities of what we have today. And as I say, increased competition. This increased competition we're talking about is not just within the accounting firm, but what other non-accountants are doing in the business. And how are they gradually getting into it? That you're having non-accountants doing the traditional work that accountants have to do. There's nothing we can do about it. These are realities of the time. What are we going to do? And how are we going to position ourselves to realities? This presentation is available and we can all have it. But the reality of what I will say to you today is, Apple, as much as we have the Apple phones, iPhones, we are not very careful, they're going to take a lot of business out of us. And if we look at this as a worry, then we are not ready for tomorrow. But because we are ready for tomorrow, we need to start introspecting and innovating and thinking of the future ahead of us as professionals. There's nothing we can do about regulatory environment. We have spoken about it, Michelle has spoken about it. I really don't want to stress too much about that. But let's talk about the opportunities. This is the reality of what firms all over the world are talking about. But much as they talk about technology and the innovations they're talking about, we need to ask ourselves, how well are we positioned for this? And if we don't lead ourselves, we're not there. As you mentioned, which I think I should mention here, investment in an innovation lab is not an easy one. Before you know, it's going to cost about $3 million. And as it's costing us money, all the big four are investing in this area. And as accountants, because we're preparing for tomorrow. The digital lab is there, which everybody is investing in. All the big four firms are investing in it today. The drone technology, as mentioned by Uyi, is a reality. And starting from January, you see Deloitte using drone technology to do stock take and do business. That's what we're doing. Those are the investments we are putting because we want to keep in line with technology. We need to go digital. And going digital is the reality. That's what we need to do. Gone are those days when you need to use your signposts for people to identify you. You need to be on the internet. You need to embrace the digital world. You need to adopt digital marketing approach in order to remain as an accountant of the future. And the moment you get into this, people and more people will look for you. Some of us who are quite shy on social media, it's about the time for us to be there. I saw opportunities, and I believe these are some of the things that big four firms need to embrace. As Michelle mentioned, opportunities are there, and it's just for us to tap into it. Thank you very much.
Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. I want to reiterate one thing we said. Who really are our competitors? Who really are our competitors? When I started, I shared the story that we had in the banking industry. Today, people are doing significant financial intermediation. and technology is aiding them, who really are competitors. On that note, permit me to invite Ben of Full Dego. He is the partner with ICAN-ngr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I will stand on all existing protocols to say a few words. Now, I'm coming after a combined 100 years of professional service experience. So there isn't that much perhaps I can add to what my senior colleagues have already said. But while they were talking and presenting, I made a few notes. So I'm going to, by exception, touch on the areas that they haven't touched on yet, so that perhaps I could preempt some of the answers or some of the questions that you are going to be asking to close the gap. So originally, I was going to touch on a couple of questions, and in fact, three main questions: disruption and the impact on our businesses of our clients, as well as on our profession as professional service firms. I was going to touch on regulatory trends, and of course, I was going to touch on some of the emerging trends in technical accounting, but most of it have already been discussed. So I'm going to pick by exception a few topics. Now, when I was walking in here, I saw two things that resonate with me on your motto, and I think that is accuracy and what? Integrity. Accuracy and integrity. So the question I want to ask all of us is, if we are using RPA, robotics process automation, if we are using artificial intelligence to do some of the basic accounting stuff, the question to all of us is, what then will the accountant do? And that's the question we must answer, and I'll try to see if I can provide some answers to that. And also, what then leaves us as professional accountants? What do we do? Accuracy is gone, so integrity perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, is all we are left with as professionals in this business, and we must protect it perhaps with all our blood, and that is how we will remain in business. So I'm going to touch on a few areas very quickly. I'm going to do perhaps two or three slides to be precise. Politics is one of the mega trends that are shaping the world of business and as well as our profession. And if I want to start from the extreme right, which is from the former South Africa president all the way to our own president here in Nigeria, I'm sure all of you have different stories and different interpretations. And I'll leave you with that stories and interpretations. But just some highlights. We all know what happened to Jacob Zuma and the influence that has had on our professional services thereafter. Those of you who were watching BBC, CNN, or Bloomberg yesterday would have heard what is happening in Britain with respect to Brexit and what the Prime Minister of Britain is going through right now. And I'm sure most of you would have heard the stories as well of what the French president and his Minister of Interior are going through. I didn't watch the news this morning, so I don't know where it's landed. So all these geopolitics are happening, they are shaping the world, and they also shape our profession. Locally here in Nigeria, we all know what is happening in Lagos State. There are some changes happening there, eminently, or perhaps not. I'm not a politician, so I don't want to dive into it. But what is important for us to know is that geopolitics influences regulation, and regulation influences what we do. So we as professional accountants need to pay a lot of attention to geopolitics and pay, if we can influence it in any way, to support our profession, to keep us in business. It is a work worth doing, because that is extremely important. Now I want to touch on the next big topic, which is economics. Now, this morning again I saw, or last night I think so, on Bloomberg, I saw some of the flash news, $84 per barrel. Is that what it is right now? $84 per barrel. Fantastic news for us as a country in Nigeria, because that is our main export product. But the news there, I think they were talking about Asian news, so they said India was in trouble. And I said, well, that's good for Nigeria, because that's our main product. We sell oil, but they use the oil. So whatever is happening politically, whatever is happening in the Middle East, whatever is happening in some of these either emerging markets or advanced markets, we need to pay some attention to it, and it needs to help us shape our own business. Because that is the kind of advice your clients want you to engage them on. Now, I'll give you a story where, I know I have 10 minutes, I'm conscious of that. I'll give you a story where I went to visit an MD of one of my clients. And it's an audit client, and I'm a consulting partner. So obviously, I would have thought maybe at minimum, some of the conversation would be around the audit and the services my colleagues are providing that MD. Now, no. 45 minutes of the 1 hour meeting, we're talking economics. We're talking about what is happening in the country, what is happening globally, how that is affecting or likely to affect his business. And the last 15 minutes was what we allocated to talking about the work that we were doing for them as an organization. Now, the challenge for all of us is, if I had gone into that meeting prepared that this is my audit client, let me get some insights from the audit partners, what is happening on the account, how was last year audit, spending all my time reading the management letters just to get appraised with what is happening on the account. I've completely wasted my time, and I've wasted the time of my clients. So again, insight is extremely important, and I'll challenge all of us to have insight as we engage with our clients. That has become the structured advisor requirement that we are looking for. My previous colleagues have presented and touched a lot on technology, from Uwe to Fatai to Michelle, everybody have touched on technology. So I'm not going to spend too much time on technology, but there was a question posed, and perhaps I'll try to see if I can answer it. The question that was posed was, if the big four, such as EY and the like, are spending so much money, Michelle mentioned EY promised to spend $1 billion this year on technology. And they are not joking, or we are not joking, we are actually doing it. So what then will our tier 2 and tier 3 professional services firms do? Where will you find the investment or the money to enable you build a future-proof professional services firm? I think that's the big question. That's perhaps the elephant in the room. Because we are saying that disruption is happening as a result of technology, but you need to find the money to invest in technology. Where would the money come from? Well, there were some suggestions about a number of firms, tier 2, tier 3, coming together. Alliances and ecosystems, is a partnership of ecosystems is what we are pushing to our clients. So we have to implement the same thing. We have to take the same pills that we are pushing to our clients. So my challenge or encouragement is those who are in the tier 2, tier 3 should consider some alliances and partnerships. But the other bit that you could do is that investment is about a strategy. Is it CapEx or OpEx? If you decide to be CapEx light, which is what you can do right now because you don't have the financial muscle to invest, the cloud computing, I think was mentioned during one of the earlier presentations, is something that we could look at. Use cloud computing. There are a lot of auditing softwares, I think one of them was shown this morning, that are out there which you can leverage. And then obviously we need to know that because our clients' way of doing business, transaction processing has changed. We need to change our audit methodology and our auditing tools. So that calls for the kind of talent that you need to bring in. We, as you've heard already, the Big Four have started the direction of recruiting STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics graduates into our organization. That's not to say there's no room for professional accountants or chartered accountants. That's to say, fundamentally, we want to have people with those basic skills. And then they can become accountants. We will take them in for what we want them to be. And then after that, we add other skills to them. Let's also not forget that, yes, technology is important, but look, for us as professional accountants to remain relevant, the bit about integrity, the bit about emotional intelligence, the bit about connecting with our clients is what is going to differentiate us in that market and is what is going to keep us in business. Because look, indeed, we've all commoditized most of the basic accounting functions that we used to have. They become commoditized, they become very, very basic and not too expensive. So we can't derive value from that. But if you engage your clients in such a way that they get value from the conversation they have with you, you will remain in business. Again on technology, we give opinion and generally, and most of the opinion we give as part of our audit, there's a presumption that going concern has been signed off. But there are other threats, technology threats. Cybersecurity has become a big issue. So you can give a going concern opinion on the client, but the next day they get hacked and they get into trouble. So you need to have those skills, cyber skills, analytics skills, digital skills on your audit team within your professional service firm. Whether you are top tier, big four, middle tier or not, you need to look for those skills in your organization. And by the way, they are not that available. Quick statistics tells us that in the next 20 years, we'll still not be able to close our cybersecurity skills gap. So which means that we are all there in the market fighting for these skills to make sure that it comes into support us. I know some of the numbers here are useful numbers, but I don't have the time to go through all of them. So what I'm going to do is ask for you to be able to stand the test of time and remain relevant. In addition to the suggestions that have been made already, I've already touched on cloud computing. Use that to reduce your capex and also try to implement some of the IT solutions that the Big Four and others are doing. Social business, social engineering, and using the social media is a way that everybody is connected. So you have to connect as well. It took me a while to join it, but I am there now. Because if you are not, you'll be disrupted. You can't even connect with your staff because we are all on WhatsApp these days. Okay, if you write an email, it will take them a longer time to read it than if you send them on WhatsApp. That's a means of communication. And by the way, as we are auditing our clients, it used to be, I want to see a signed signature on a piece of paper. Then we started accepting emails. Watch that space. You will start accepting WhatsApp as means of approval. So there's a lot more we can do. Try to give more value to your customers. Every penny spent, you have to justify, you have to convince yourself that you give them value, and let's automate our workflows. Let's not preach only to our clients, but we need to do that as well. I've touched on cyber, I've touched on commercialization, I've touched on the geopolitics, but the last thing I want to leave with all of us is talent. Now, we need to find the right people into our organization. We need to prioritize them and their well-being, and we need to compensate them properly. Now, a number of things that are on this board, I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm quite passionate about the fifth bullet, diversity and inclusion. I watched some TED Talk recently, and what it says is that organizations that are most diversified, which is having a good proportion of female in the boardroom and senior management positions, are actually having a higher probability of success in innovation. Now the question is, I know somebody wants to clap for that. The question is, how diversified are you? Now, if we, and the statistics, I think there are open statistics around how the professional services firm is diversified. At partner level, we are by 22%, and gentlemen, that's not great. I know we are all doing something about it, so we need to make a deliberate effort. It must be deliberate. It shouldn't be just talk show. It must be supported with action, that we try to push our female colleagues to the top of the organization such that it can give us, to the top of the organization such that it's not just good for talk, it's good for business. And it's good for the future of the profession that we are trying to create. And last but not the least is on scalability and capacity of the firm. I think we've touched on that. Tier 1 and Tier 2, look at how you can build capacity, look at how you can be scalable, such that you'll be able to support most of your clients. Now, so in concluding, 4 points to remember: stay abreast with the rapid change in automation and be part of it. Don't stay behind too much. Regulatory pressure on our work is extreme. Independence is extreme. It's not just PCAOB that is calling for that. In fact, civic society is calling for it in a lot of markets. And it didn't take much time because civic society in our markets will start calling for independence. So how ready are we and how prepared are we to be able to demonstrate that all the time? I've touched on commoditization of our services, but look, even we have a lot of cabs all over. You can sit in many Ubers, but you know, you may sit in some Ubers with some difference because of how the driver relates to you. So in as much as commoditization is the order of the day for our profession, because of the fee pressure, etc., let's try to provide that differentiated service to deal with commoditization. That will keep your business in shape. And last but not the least, let's grow expertise that will help us grow the nation. So I heard a lot about infrastructure this morning during some of the calls. I think the SME call, the workshop, they were talking about electricity, etc. We need to invest. We need to support as accountants. We need to support these projects. We audit these projects and we pass them all the time. Vendors get paid or contractors get paid, but work never gets delivered. Is that integrity? I think that's the question if you want to leave with all of it. So there's a lot we can do as professionals in the accounting profession, and I'll just urge all of us to remember that word, our motto is integrity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ben. But before we throw the question to the audience to take questions, I want to bring two issues here for us to discuss. Now, technology, it's the ABC of technology. We've had artificial intelligence, blockchain, cyber risk, and we talk big data. In the light of that, and Michelle, I want to share this experience with us. We talked about skills. We talked about the structure of our firms. How do you think ICAN as an institute can help the firms and all of us to work on this in collaboration with the big firms and sharing experience, your experience in England with us? How do you think we can work on this to feel what we really think?
Thank you, Chairman. I think that the skill set and the talent has been mentioned by almost everyone on the platform. So it does highlight how this is absolutely critical. I think there's two parts to my answer on that. The first is that, as you would expect, my institute reviews and keeps abreast of its syllabus on an annual basis. But most importantly, to do that, they meet frequently with their customers, shall I call it, the Big Four and the other firms. And they talk to them in detail as to what the Big Four and the other firms require. And I think the discussion, probably 18 months ago, and I tell you the date because of showing the speed at which we reacted, we found that when the Big Four firms were planning their profile of the talent they need for the next 5 years, there was a recognition that in the short term there will be increasing numbers, then there might be a plateau and there might be a slight reduction. So there wasn't the fear that artificial intelligence would hugely reduce the number of employees. But what came out of it was that there was going to be a significant change in the skill sets and experience of the individuals, and particularly around big data. And why I mention that is because the Big Four firms were particularly interested in recruiting people who were prepared on big data, but they had to have a financial skill set. But they didn't want to spend 3 years or 4 years becoming ICAN-ngr chartered accountants. They wanted a subset of that. So specifically, we developed what we call our CFAB, leading to a qualification after 1 year. The CFAB gives you a BFP qualification, Business Finance Professional, and that equips the person who passes and becomes accredited, plus the exams and the ethical aspect of that, equips them for work in the Big Four firms at a different career path, a different level. And for our own institute, for us to award a new professional qualification, you have to have the blessing and the approval of the FRC, the Financial Reporting Council. So it went through that elaborate process, and I think also the Privy Council. So to do that, we invest a lot of time and effort to respond quickly and show to the agile needs of the Big Four firms. So thank you.
And the second part of the question in terms of, I heard that from both you and Olan saying the young people today don't want to do 35 years, right? You just want to do it and go. How can we make our firms attractive enough, the kind of structure of the life, the kind of place where people work? How can we make it attractive enough to be able to bring in this relevant skills that these young people come and then feel at home and work the life?
Thank you very much. Very important question. I said earlier that I joined my firm 34 years ago. One very important statistic I left out was that 80% of the near 1,000 people we have in PwC were not born when I joined the firm. So they are under 34 and they are a different breed of people. So you need to respond to those things. So what keeps me awake at night is not those numbers, revenue numbers. It's how to get the best out of these people, out of the staff. You need to be on the game. So they are far ahead when it comes to innovation, technology. I have a mentor when it comes to technology. It's a second year associate. So I spend 1 or 2 hours every month to catch up. So you just need to then continuously make things relevant. All you need is guidance, set the tone, set the direction on what they're going, and create exciting opportunities. 2 years ago, people were not interested in going to our risk assurance services group. Now there's a lot of excitement because it gives people the opportunities to interact and do work around the emerging trends as a result of technology. So in fact, as a CEO, talent and how you deal with talent is very, very key. I mean, I limited my presentation to just those two, technology and regulation, but on one of those slides, we saw the other thing, and talent was in some other reasonable mode, as it were. And for us, as an institute, we've grown to about 40,000 or so. If we want to continue to maintain these on an annual basis, for people to show some excitement about belonging to this profession, we need to show, just like the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales have done, to create those right opportunities for them to have other expertise that the profession recognizes in support of delivering value to clients. That becomes key. It's an ever-moving game, and you just need to be ahead of the curve. Thank you.
I want to do a little follow-up on that, and I want Florence to pick this up. You know, I didn't work in an audit firm, accounting firm. I saved my life in banking. But one of the things you saw was that there was a partner up there. And sometimes when the partner was coming through the staircase, who born you, clerk, to want to just go past it? And I'm talking about the structure now. And these young people, so how do you maintain that structure? Deloitte, but here and outside, what's your experience like?
So you went into it, and that's the realities of our time, past days. Those days are gone, and you can't have it anymore. Otherwise, you will not have people walking into your doors, because they also institution online. So we can't do that. So it's not anything special to have a year one person just coming into the firm first time, coming part-time. So we started from there, trying to come to their level of thinking, and also we now try to be relevant to them, not them being relevant to us anymore. And that's even how the things treated. We now have to make sure that they know that we are not Asian. That's part of what we do. So it's the consequence, we get acquainted with technology, with the latest thing that they do. So you'll be surprised if we now have to exchange text messages using those words that you cannot read. But I can read them. So we had, first of all, our docs to them, that's what I'm saying. Then the second thing that was quite clear is that we discuss ahead. What's the future like? What are you looking to? What are we aspiring to? Gone are those days when people have resigned, and then that's when you start telling them you have plans for them. They actually want to know about the plan now. And if the plan does not align with them, they are not going to speak with you. Another thing that is quite critical is when we started our cyber intelligence center at Deloitte, that's the department that we run 24-hour shift. We never had to go in and do scheduling for them. They did it themselves. Because they are just in the world. And they put themselves in it. And the cyber intelligence center is an area that we don't have high level of frustration. Because that is what speaks to their mind. Now, We went into that, and you also need to look at how do you quickly accelerate their training such that they can start seeing the relevance and how do they move. It will be interesting, I'll tell you, within the last 2 years, we made 16 partners at Deloitte. And out of these 16 partners, we have 8 ladies, 8 women. Out of these 8, there are 8 brackets. Just about that. I mean, the whole year was about 35. So those are those days where you want to make partner at 40, 50. That was the oldest. And those that 35 are people that we brought from outside. So we have to accelerate training. We have to expose them to what is going on globally. And that's the reality. Because the day any of your staff walk into your doors and mention that it's leaving, you cannot easily convince them to stay. So we are conscious of this. As you mentioned, what wakes us up is how do we keep this talent? And there's no one rule about it, but just to keep innovating and changing. There's innovation around the youth and the talent.
I'll ask one more question, then we'll throw it open to the floor and take 4 questions. Now, your competition is not within the big 4 or the small and medium class. How do we deal with a challenge from the technology companies? And Ben or anyone that can speak to it, how do we deal with it? And then
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So, the fintechs, we call them now, because they are technology companies in the financial services industry, are disrupting not just themselves, they're also disrupting banks, insurance companies, etc. And like we all see, the trend is that if you are not very careful, they can also disrupt as the professional services firm. Because they can really do that accounting, the robots can do some accounting, they can do return to pay, they can do order to cash, they can do reconciliation. So this kind of back-end accounting can easily go with the automation. So the only way that, at least in my organization, we started looking at is collaboration and partnership. So we are trying to partner with them, we are creating solutions together. A lot of the solutions that we are creating, sometimes from advisory point of view, but then becomes mainstream assurance solutions that we provide to these clients. So that is what we are doing, that is how we are building skills. We can't have all of them, all these skills in-house with our own infrastructure. And the pace at which they innovate is so fast that the only way for us to remain relevant with them in competition is actually to collaborate with them. So that's what we are doing.
You can't collaborate with that. On that note, we'll take 4 questions from the audience.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. My name is Nicola Muraya Tumuladon, FC 5947. My question goes to both we and my brother Polari. I think we've been through this before, and at some point it appears like FRC was coming up with a regulation to ensure that there's capacity building through collaboration and joint audit between the big firms and the SMPs. The easiest way to build capacity is to ensure that we have a hands-holding and mentoring by the bigger firms to the smaller firms. In our own little corner, even as small firms, we're trying to encourage the micro SMPs. So what efforts are you making to ensure that we have that? Thank you very much.
Just note your question.
My name is Edie Michael, and I'm directing this question to Mr. Uyi. Membership number 41105. I'm looking at the external perspective of how our system affects both big and small firms in the way they operate for future reasons. Now we all know that the accounting firms operate in a system that could in future make or mar the way stakeholders see the way or rely on their reporting system. So I want to like this. the digital world is coming to a space in the sense that we have digital marketing, digital medical aspect has gone digital. It's only in the political space that we're here to fully digitize the process now. So my question is, how can defense channel their resources to ensure that stakeholders rely on the way the reporting is being done, not just the reporting aspect alone, but also in the public space too as well? Thank you.
I notice the number is growing. So let's go.
Good afternoon. My name is Caroline Mensa, membership number 22221. My question this afternoon, listening to all the panelists, one thing stands out: technology. But I think my question is, it's not only about technology. The moderator said the big four are really investing on technology because that's the only way we can move forward as a future auditing firm. That is, smaller firms should come together. But the problem is mindset. We have so many smaller audit firms where the managing partner will die and that firm closes. So how do we change the mindset so that this smaller firm will be able to come together and take opportunity, make good use of this opportunity?
My name is Sofo Sylvester, membership number 3928, FCA. My question or comment has to do, I'm directing it to Mike, in terms of collaboration and institutes collaboration. Some 2-3 years back, there was this twining arrangement between England and Wales and ICAN, where some of these SMPs were asked to subscribe to the software package they made available at that time. And majority of them subscribed to it along the line that was killed. After the presentation we had early this morning by the South African guy on the software, I also engaged in a discussion. And one of the things that came out is that, isn't there a way ICAN or England and Wales can come together once again to partner so that these SMPs can leverage in terms of cost of reducing the cost of the software? Thank you.
Please stand on the existing protocol. My name is Okoro Wilson, membership number 4237. I have listened to the further discussion. I think the big problem for the future for the indigenous SMBCS is basically part of the big four. Some of us have been attending this conference the last 20, 30 years, and each time we talk of how the young firms will grow. We talk of integration with the big firm, and the big firm has never really taken interest. I am of the strong opinion that the institute should come, regulate the jobs of the big firm. One, the issue of 5 to 10 years appointment, big four staying there, should be reduced to a maximum of 3 years. Secondly, the audit fees of 500,000 below should be left to the SMPC's firm. Lastly, ICAN has a monitoring, practice monitoring group. We don't know the benefit. With this technology problem, I am of the strong opinion that ICAN should have should contribute to the fund of technology development so that the young ones can share from there. Thanks.
Finally, my name is Mr. Pabuka, membership number 10,388. My concern is actually the small accountant, the small firms. How would the training institute ensure that this small accountant survive we have had the keyword integration, globalization. We have the big four. The big four cannot take in many of the accounts that we have in this country. And even the smaller ones, after integrating, they will not have the skills and the capacity to compete. Just like what globalization has done, whereby infantry, the smaller industries are completely wiped out because of competition. How with ICAN? It's not just mere changing of accounting syllabuses. Training of accountants is to be looked in a different dimension. It's just changing it. How would ICAN come in directly to salvage that? Any one of you can answer it. Thank you.
My name is Anino Akweri, FCA, membership number 9314. I have no doubt that in another couple of years, the big four, like we have it today, will also be disrupted. But my concern really is with ICAN as an institution. The response of ICAN to technology has much to be desired. We don't need to go just into the address. In this room, there are some young ladies going about with papers, asking people to fill names and things like that. That's an example of how obsolete our processes are within the institute. That's one. Almost everybody here may have been compelled to print papers yesterday to register. 3 copies of unnecessary things. That's 2.
Okay, can we then...
Now, the critical question I
address the issue at hand.
The critical point I want to make is this. As an advice to the institute needs to begin to work on how to utilize technology to support our members, especially the smaller ones, to be able to compete globally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to take the answers to the questions like this, and the lead speaker will answer last. So that whatever they've left behind, we will take it. So Florian, I start from you, and then Michelle, and then we'll come back.
First, let me address the issue of capacity building through collaborations. I did make bold to say that the big four are ready to support medium and small scale firms to succeed in Nigeria. Because the success of the mid-tier firms is also the success of the big four in the country. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of opportunities out there. Hello? There are lots of opportunities out there. I'll say, in the last 3 years, let me just use the lot as a reference, and I know you want to portray this, and my colleague from EY. We collaborated with ICAN on training of small and medium firms. And as a matter of fact, when we moved our office out of Ikorodu to our present office at Civic Towers, we left a wing of the building, basically because of the training and arrangement we had with ICAN on helping to train small and medium-sized firms on IFRS implementation. Even the case where you talk about here today, we've been investing money in the last 3 years, helping to train small and medium firms. But what we have, we don't usually get people to come. And when people come, they pay attention. They're always in and out. So you ask yourself, what's the value of what they eventually take out of it?
So we have the kind of programs, and I tell you, we have these things. So we are willing and ready to support because we also believe that's the only way we can. When we met recently and we had a conversation to say, certain aspects of businesses is also one of those things we also don't want to do. We've been discussing within ourselves and we continue to relate with ICAN on that. But the basic thing that is important is for all of us to remember that we cannot continue to remain Fatai, Polari and Co. We need to collaborate, and collaboration is not to be driven by the big four. It's personal to each of us. To come to a realization to say, let me come together with other colleagues who have capacities in different areas. Accountants in the room, we cannot do everything. And most of us have this belief that I know it all, I can do everything. I can do tax, I can do audit, I can do cyber, I can do everything. Until we start to come to realization that we need to change our thinking and we need to change our approach, we will not collaborate. It's not compulsory for us to be the managing partners of our firm. What we notice in the business world here today is that some of us set up our firm and we're already working the firm for our kids that are in primary school or yet to be born because we want them to take over the business from us. Those are no realities. Those are things that will never allow collaborations to happen in this world. So for us to collaborate, it's intuitive. It's a decision we can start taking in the room by picking somebody by your side and say, how can we work this out? And you realize that it's going to happen. So in terms of what ICAN can do, ICAN cannot force it. The big four firm can't force it. That's the truth. Now, moving into whether ICAN should regulate the fees and the work that the big four firms should do. Hello, colleagues in the room. The big fours are not the problems of this business. Because we also know that there are certain thresholds we set for ourselves in terms of fees and work we will never do. We have the threshold, and I'm sure you can portray this. Because of the threshold, we don't touch it. For example, if we bring certain level of audit to our business, we will never take it. And I make both to say it here. And if you want me to confirm the numbers, I can. If you bring any audit that is less than 5 million, we usually don't take it. We don't take it. And the reason why we don't take it is because we know there are other small firms out there that needs to improve. So we don't take them, but what do? We ask them to go to other small firms. That's what we do. And I'm sure we used to probably say at EY and from KPMG, which I'm aware of, there are thresholds, so we don't take those jobs. Not because they are not good people, but because we know the other firms must survive. So collaboration is a big thing. I would tell all of us in the room, let us start to develop ourselves. And if we develop ourselves, we will see the benefit of this business. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm just going to pick up on a couple of points. I hope I got the gist of the questions fairly accurately. It started with a question about joint or shared. And I hesitate slightly here because I know it's a very popular topic and a lot of being considered in the UK as well. And I think perhaps the underlying assumption is that it will help the profession grow and will have an impact on the monopoly of the perceived monopoly of the big four. I think conceptually it can do that. My experience in being involved in joint audits over a number of years, particularly in the oil and gas sector, it didn't actually achieve that result. Now, I'm not saying it can't achieve it, but I just think it has to be very carefully planned, executed. I did see, my observation was that the Big Four did the audit, a small amount was delegated to a non-Big Four firm, they didn't communicate very well, and all the risk and the professional indemnity insurance was taken by the Big Four firm, so there was less of an appetite for transfer of skills and ownership. But I'm not saying that shouldn't be a driver for it to happen, it just needs to be carefully controlled. It came on, another point was the mindset of the helping the SME transition, succession planning, etc. I think this is a very difficult question because I don't think anything works unless the SMPs are convinced themselves. They truly have to want to do it because you can't force someone. I think you have the expression, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Obviously, there needs to be some incentives to help, but certainly I think it's a question of education, explaining and involvement and collaboration there. I was asked a specific question and given an example by someone who had experience of working with ICAN and ICAW in the past. I wasn't aware of the specific example about software that was given, but in response to the question, as a result of the MOU that we signed earlier this year with ICAN, we're very much aware of the need to collaborate and collaborate in a partnership. Now that means coming up with cost-effective solutions to work together as partners, not as client and customer and that sort of approach. So I think enhance and endorse that, and I suggest that we coordinate that through the CEO at ICAN to make that happen. By way of example, I just happen to have with me a very small piece of paper. It says, "Welcome to the Pathways with ICAN," and on the back they have a QR. I had to look up what QR was. It's called Quick Response Code. If you have smartphones, you just show it to this and you get instant access to all the FAQs and so forth of how if you've got 5 years experience. I show that because it's an hot example of how collaboration can work in practice. Just through my list of other points, I think really the speed at which an institute adapts is critical. My institute, ICAO, is investing huge amounts of money in, or I notice everyone these days is using the word agile, but we are trying to call ourselves the Agile Institute. I think we have some success, but in other areas I don't see much of an Agile Institute at times, but I think we can all reflect internally how we can do things better. But the person who asked the question is absolutely right. To be relevant, we have to equip ourselves to be sustainable. I'm hoping that by the collaboration of chartered accountants worldwide, and I think my film came on unexpectedly when that happened, but it's a grouping together of 12 institutes across the globe representing 1.7 million students and members. So that I think there is, numbers per se are not the be-all and end-all, but there is some advantage of having a network of that size. And certainly I think we can all be part of that and leverage off each other's experience, not continuing reinventing the wheel. So I'll leave you with those questions. Thank you very much indeed.
I think one that I had here was around how ICAN can support or facilitate shared IT environment. Now, I don't know if ICAN has the funding for that, but it's definitely something that is possible. The shared software as a service options are available, so maybe perhaps a couple of organizations can come together and create a platform which can be actually disclosed to other people. So software as a service shared environment can be created for maybe auditing solutions, etc. Now, there was also a bit of the last speaker, or the last question asked was around how ICAN can be a bit more tech savvy. Now, I recall one of the emails, at least that I got as part of coming here, actually gave instruction on installing a mobile app. I think it's an event app, which unfortunately I didn't install, and perhaps many of you sitting here today did not install that event app in both Android and iOS. And maybe if you had actually installed these apps and used them, you should have bridged the gap, you should have met some of the expectations that the gentleman was asking. I've used those event apps before on other occasions. It did work, it did address most of the things that was raised. So perhaps a bit more of, how do you call it, embracing the initiative by ICAN would have perhaps answered some of the queries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, the good thing about speaking last is that the other three panelists have covered all the questions, so I can just say thank you and bye. But again, let me emphasize that as with the other big four firms, And I think the next tier of firms, we cannot claim to be successful if our institute or profession is not successful. So for those people who are thinking otherwise that we are in it for ourselves, it's not so. Part of my assessment from a global perspective every year is to what extent have I contributed to the growth of the profession. That's why most of us are sponsors. That's why PwC, most of our partners, all our partners and associate directors belong and be active in district societies, where you have one-on-one engagement and relationship with people to the extent that individually they become sounding boards to fellow professionals and friends. But on a structured basis, we do the same thing in terms of supporting institute-related training. Most of our partners are facilitators. But what I want to see happen more, perhaps that is where the key question is. We need to now find a platform in which we can collectively work with ICAN to make sure our SMPs strive. And we're prepared to do the investment in terms of resources, in terms of people. It's a business need for me. We are in it together. So it's not because it's a business thing. I'm not happy sometimes when I go somewhere and say, you are this, I saw a chartered accountant, the person doesn't know. It's not, it's my profession. And I have a big stake at it, whether I'm big four or small firm. Partnership, what? I sat behind and listened to the session before this. And I was so happy some of the comments that came, because if it had come in this session, people would have looked and said, oh yes, because you are big four. But when they came here, and I think the speaker from the CBN subsidiary or ACT said, there's a big space out there. The big four only has 20 or 15% of the market. I was doing an analysis recently. The big four has 40% of the top listed companies in the stock exchange. I'm planning for audit rotation in 4 years' time. So we shouldn't, the big threat is not big four or ourselves, it's technology companies. That's the aim of this conference. So I don't want to take the discussions beyond that. But let me put it this way. We must not be lazy when it comes to changing our mindset. We are being threatened. Before we have resources, we have the people we will think will survive. But for smaller firms, it's just going to be more difficult if you cannot come together. Gode Oshukoya, Abas, they will tell you very good stories the day they decided, the four partners decided to come together. And they are now recognized out there. See how as individuals, the four partners were not doing anything for, but suddenly coming together, they became a competitor to the big firms in certain areas. That is the truth. So we must begin to think about it, the mindset. A lot of firms are coming to ask us, how are we doing it? But I've not seen one accounting firm. No one person here has come to say, Uyi, how are you doing your partnership? And how can you support us if 4 or 5 of us want to come together as partners? But there are 3 or 4 law firms that have come to say, this is what we want to do. How can you help us? I think we should stop. I mean, again, I think I should just end it there. But very importantly, to bring us back on track, it's very important that working with ICAN, I think it's instructive that the President came in at this time, that based on this current trend, we rejig various committees and have one committee that is specially focused on these technology trends, the need to special collaboration across board, and also how we can continue to improve the talents of our people. That is critical, even if that's what we take out of this. I know I interact regularly with members of the Big Four. We want to extend that interaction with other firms so that on a regular basis we continue to discuss things that affect the institute, not ourselves. The institute are 40,000 strong members. So, our SMP sessions. Lastly, let me say something again. In our firms, the audit, as we continuously see, where people are saying, before are doing audits and rest, that is a business that is dying. There's no real growth. I cannot get the $1 or $2 million audit again. If you get to the next year, you rotate it out. So what's my ticket to the game? I'm creating and establishing relationships where I can provide other services, some of which I've seen. No one is going to tell you because you are Big Four, you are doing an internal audit work and support better than a client. If you tool up in internal audit or risk or revenue assurance services in a specific area, no one is going to say because you are a Big Four. I'm ICAN-ngr 4370. I know most people here are more experienced than me and them. Focus on those areas, create your niche areas. PwC or any of the Big Four cannot compete with Bode Abuja and Co when it comes to risk analysis, financial analysis and rest. You just have to be realistic. But as I said earlier, I don't want to divert attention. One of the reasons I came to this session and it was very interesting for me in discussions with the President, it provides a unique opportunity for us to come together, recognizing their challenges, but knowing that if we work together, small, big, ICAN together, we will make that difference and our institute will be stronger for it. Thank you.
In concluding, I want to recommend to all of us, if you haven't read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? All the iceberg is melting. The truth of the matter is that the things that are competing, the people who are robbing us of the opportunity are the Big Four. But today, if you haven't heard it, hear it clearly, the fintech guys are chasing us. The second thing I want us to bear in mind is that it's a detailed value chain analysis. There's enough room for everyone. No one can do it all. Maybe you need to begin to ask yourself, where are those niche areas that I can play, that I can be supportive of a big firm? And you've heard the word collaboration. You know, I would say ICAN sometimes, I ask myself, isn't ICAN a member institute? So who are those to do it? It's not Mr. President, you know. We are members. So if we see a lack, we've got to roll up our sleeves and say, I volunteer myself to be available to get this to work. And lastly, Mr. President, thanks for coming in here. Our people are saying we need sufficient technology to help support us. You've heard the Big Four saying we're willing to work with you towards ensuring that everybody in this profession is proud of what it is we're doing. How do we create the avenue? I want to thank the lead speaker and the discussant for coming and for very incisive way they've contributed. I want to thank you for being a very attentive, very engaging, very good listening audience. And on that note, I thank you for having us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of the session. But before we go, may I request the chairman of the session to make a presentation to the resource people. Thank you, sir.
So on behalf of the President and Chairman of Council and the members here, it's my honor and privilege to present it to you. On behalf of the President and Chairman of Council and the members of the Council, it's my honor and privilege to present it to you. Again, on behalf of the President and Chairman of Council and members of the Institute, it's my privilege to present this to you. Thank you. On behalf of the President and Chairman of Council, it is my honor and privilege to present this to you. And thanks for coming. Thank you so much.
May I now request the Vice President, Mazi Okladigo, to make presentation to the Chairman